Today we're gonna start with the Kioptrix level 2, and over here we can see the machine is running on the screen, and I'm gonna use and the machine IP address is 192.168.108, and we can see we have a web interface. And over here, the first thing which I'm gonna I was basically doing, I was basically scanning the server. So we need to scan the server first to identify the number of hosts or number of application which is running on the backend server. And over here, you can use side-by-side NICTO also to identify the misconfiguration links. And over here, we can see we have a web interface. We're saying remote system administrator login, which has two parameter values, a username parameter value and the password parameter value. And over here, we are still doing the scan, and the scan has been completed as per the record. And what I can see that the ports are open. The 22 is open over there with the SSH. The port 80 is open. That's why we can see the interface. And look, the most important part, the banner grabbing part. So over here, this is a CentOS. A CentOS is just like your Kali Linux, but it's a Red Hat server. And you can see the port number 443, which is your SSL, which is your HTTPS, which is running over there, and it's basically supported SSL version 2. Many of the cases, the connection might be not secure when they're simply doing a client or request server. And you can see 361 is open over there, which is 1.1, and over here we can see the last one, 3306, which is your MySQL server, which is unauthorized over here. So through the Nmap, we can identify the port number 22 is open, but we don't have the credentials to log in on the SSH. The port 80, which is your interface, as I can see over here. The port 443, which is your SSL version 2. And we can see this is not secure. Was not support any encryption page we are doing. Information sent over the internet without encryption can be seen by the other. That's why this is HTTP. And if I see over here on the NICTO part, the NICTO is the most important thing. Where do you have to identify the services which is running in the backend? So over here, I can see you can use NICTO, you can use different kinds of tools. For example, you can see they have using some PHP sessions in the backend, and you can see PHP reveals potentially sensitive information via certain HTTP requests. We know about the sensitive request. Why? Because there is no use encryption standard. So you have to make a proper note when you are doing a pen testing in the real life scenarios. You can see there's a directories like manual, icon, again a manual, server made leaks, inverts, e-tags, headers. There's an icon.readme file, which is Apache default file. README is just like a normal thing about file, you can say that. And over here, these are the two things that we have scanned. But most of the attackers, what they do, they basically use to crawl the entire network. That's why they use Derbuster. Crawling is a process where we need to find the directories on the server side. I doesn't know how many directories are there. I can see only one. So in this case, what we're gonna do, we're gonna try to extract the URL. So I'm gonna put the URL over here and increase the number of threads, which is 80. But in the Derbuster, we need a dictionary because we're gonna perform a brute force attack. A brute force attack is basically to identify the number of directories. It's gonna make a GET request. It will try to simply send some words. And for default dictionaries on your Kali server, you have to go to the computers. You can go to the user. You can go to the share directory, and you can write the word list over here. So if you write word list, you will see derb, derbuster, front, Wi-Fi, Metasploit. We are not going to use those. We are going to try to use the derb and derbuster. So I'm going to use the derbuster over here. And in the derbuster, I can see some directories or some kind of words over there. And over here, I'm going to use, and you can use any of the medium, any of the one. For example, this is a large one, which contains the basic words. So you can see retry. It will contain some basic words of the directories, for like etc pass, dev null, etc password, user group. See this one. These are the words that you're gonna hit on the server side. Or you can try to use any of these dictionaries over here. So for example, I'm gonna use the medium one, which will basically use for the directories. For example, you can say index, images, download, crack, serial, full, contact. These are the directories on the server side. For that case, I'm gonna insert a dictionary over there. So browse. We're gonna go to the user, share. We're gonna write the word list. The word list, I'm gonna use the debbuster, and I'm gonna use the medium.txt file. So the major role of the medium.txt, we're gonna perform a brute force attack on the directory crawl. So remember one thing: when you're performing a brute force scan, brute force the directories, brute force the files, and I'm gonna remove the B recursive. Why I'm removing this one? Because it will multiply. It will multiply the words in aggressive mode. So the directory will be start from the root and the PHP extension. This is the important part. Most of the websites, they doesn't know which programming language they are using. Pen tester need to identify which programming language using by the specific domain. So I'm going to copy this one to identify the what are the technologies they're using on the backend side. I'm going to use what web and the IP address. You can paste the IP address or you can paste the URL. So I'm going to paste the URL, and over here you can see the Apache version, the country, the HTTP, CentOS, and the PHP version. For a manner way, you can use web-b for verbose. You will see a proper sequence. So this is an active reconnaissance tool, first of all, because you can see the status code, which is 200. So basically, I'm basically a request. So over here, you can see the Apache and the version plus the HTTP server. The HTTP server is the important part where you are using application for hosting the service. For example, you can see OS, which is your CentOS, and Red Hat Linux system. You can search in the google.com, for example. Let's write over here, CentOS. So over here, you can see CentOS is the Linux distribution that provides a free community-supported computer platform. And this is basically from 2014. And you can see this basically uses for Red Hat. What is the use of the CentOS? You can see over here, CentOS is a Linux distribution derived from Red Hat and Red Hat Enterprise Linux that's popular with system admins, DevOps engineers, and home user likes. It is also used by many organizations for development and production server. See. So when you're doing yes.
एक मिनट रुक सकते हो? मैं 1 सेकंड के लिए आ रहा हूँ, बस एक सेकंड
हो गया 1 सेकंड
मतलब एटलीस्ट मेरे को इन्फॉर्म करना है कि लाइक रूम में क्लास चल रही है तो ना है बीच में लाइक
ओके
1 सेकंड में हाँ सर बैक हेलो सर आ गया वापस
Yes, I was busy with someone's calls. Sorry.
oh, no problem sir
Give me 2 minutes, okay?
Okay, sir.
Yes. So we were on the CentOS.
Yes.
And through the web we can use to identify the services which is running in the backend of the server, which is our recon part. So I can see the PHP version. So most of the hacker, what they do, they simply identify the loopholes with the help of the banner grabbing part. The banner grabbing is a process where we need to identify each and every services which is running in the specific server. For example, either you can use the tools. For example, I use the Nmap, the Nikto, and there is one more tool that we can use. It's called Weaponizer. So we can use the Weaponizer to identify the services which is running in the specific server. So this is technology driven by the need organization, SAND, market. We track over 1,000 technology across the websites. Yeah, we're gonna use this one. So we're gonna go to the term resources. Let's do some resources. Some resources. So yeah, browser extensions, and we're gonna use it for Mozilla. Add-on. And we can see we have an extension over here. So accept, and we can see through the Weaponizer we can identify which other services is running in a specific website. And I'm going to use the same one on over here. So let's refresh this one. And when I refresh this page, I can see in the Weaponizer, it captured all the services. For example, it's used the web server, which is Apache version 2.0.52, and it's a programming language, which we're going to use PHP version 4.3.9, and the operating system, which is our CentOS. So either you can use the Weaponizer, either you can use the web, or we can try the different things. For example, let's see our Derbuster. That's why we're using PHP. So let's execute this one, and the testing directories from the / and the extension of PHP. So you can see the files over there. Each and every files are running in the backend, and you can see a proper way over here also. Sometimes the web server reveals some sensitive directories on the server side, which is not good. So you can see CGI bin, icons, manual, users, error. These are the directories on the server side. And we can see the status code, which is 200, 403. These are HTTP status code. So when a client, for example, when I'm doing a google.com, there will be a HTTP request, which is 100. And for the server side, when the request has been completed, it will show us 200. It means OK report. So the main objective, we're going to try to check as per the Nmap. The MySQL was unauthorized. So first of all, we have to check if the parameter value is vulnerable or not with the MySQL. So I'm going to use a single quote on the both, no response, a double quote, no response, a backslash, no response. So what we can try, most of the people, they try to bypass the login page with the help of SQL authentication bypass cheat sheet. For example, if you search for the authentication bypass cheat sheet, you can see on the first side, SQL injection login bypass cheat sheet. We can use this one. See, these are the basic words that we use for bypassing the two-step link. For example, they have given a single code to balance the query, and the minus minus is basically used to comment the queries over here. So if you look over here, these are the queries is basically used to bypass the login page if you doesn't know the password. Why? Because over here we need a true value. For example, lots of the people, they simply give admin and password, the word list. But that's not the thing. Most of the hackers, they simply use some SQL bypass cheat sheets like this one. So I'm going to use one of the queries. For example, let's use this one. So over here, I can see they have given a word called root plus the single quote to balance the query and or condition. Or operator is basically used to perform a condition over there. And 1 is equal to 1 is a true statement value. So over here, when we are simply doing a login set or authenticate to an application, we need a proper credentials. So let's try this one. And I can see on the back end that it's basically bypassed this. Welcome to basic administrative web console. Because in the real life scenarios, most of the websites are unaware about the SQL bypass. If you simply check in google.com, SQL login bypass hacker1. See this one. This is a 2020 hacker1 report.
सर एक क्वेश्चन था।
हाँ जी बोलिए।
सर अगर किसी वेबसाइट पे 404 एडमिन पेज को, तो फिर वो मिलेगा कैसे किसी एक हैकर को?
40
सर जैसे जो एडमिन पेज है, इन्होंने अपने इंटरनेट पे सेट कर दिया और इंटरनेट के लिए उन्होंने एरर थ्रो कर दिया कि 404 दिखाएगा अगर कोई एक्सेस करने की कोशिश करेगा। तो उस कंडीशन में हैकर कैसे ढूंढ लेते हैं कि एडमिन पेज को ढूंढ लेते हैं इवन अगर वो 404 भी शो हो रहा है? तो
वो इंटरनली सर्वर को पास जाता है। अगर एक लॉगिन पेज आपके इंटरनेट पे है तो हैकर क्या करता है, उसको सर्वर पे हैक करने की कोशिश करता है।
ओके,
जैसे अगर आप यहाँ पे देखो, the browser has login.php file. Okay, enter, see this code, double quote, single quote, semicolon, minus minus. Let's try with this one.
इस पे नहीं
This one will work over here. So a skilled attacker would be gained to access to the database of the website on depending on the privilege of the database user. Gain to access other sites. You can see lots of things over here.
वेबसाइट भी सर डिफेंस की, क्या बात है,
Hmm.
डिफेंस वाले लोग ही एसक्यूएल पे ध्यान दे रहे.
Enter double quote or one is equal to alt, and you can see the proper, and he insert a proper SQL statement.
चल एक बार वो क्या कहते हैं कमांड समझा दो, वही वाली.
Which this one?
नहीं नहीं जो आपने हैकर वन पे दिखाई थी ना, जो उसने कहा कि कमांड डाली है एसक्यूएल की. हाँ
He was basically using a single quote to balance the query,
हाँ
then a single quote to make a string, because if you're entering a string you have to put a single quote.
हाँ.
And what he did, he simply put one is equal to a true value on the server side.
So the UTL और in adder मतलब क्या हुआ?
In address,
In
but get
address, हाँ host
select
address.
from dual. A
Okay.
dual which will be a table name over there,
Table name.
or a database current database user,
Okay.
current database host name. You can see over here each and everything. That's why most of the people they try to bypass the login page according to their own need, and we're gonna use this one. But in the real life scenario, you can use burp suite for this. Burp suite intruder.
हाँ इंट्रूडर में जाके सर वो पेलोड सेक्शंस में डालने होते हैं. मैंने सर कॉलेज की वेबसाइट बाईपास कर दी थी एडमिन पैनल की, जाके रिपोर्ट करी थी उनको.
Okay, that's good. So क्या बोल रहे हैं वो?
मेरे पे सुना दिया सर फालतू में, मेरे पे चढ़ गए. और मतलब एटीट्यूड होता है ना सर कॉलेज का नेक्स्ट लेवल का. कह रहे थे कि इतने सालों में तो हैक नहीं हुई, तुम एकदम से आके करके जा रहे हो, वही से बोल रहे थे.
Is it okay, Amit sir?
Yes, sir.
Okay, cool. So over here we can see welcome to the basic administrative web console. Okay, first of all we're gonna read about the administrative web console. So what is a web console? First of all, let's check this one. This is the important part. A web console where we can execute any command on the server side. This is also a console where I'm simply putting my commands over there. And if you check the web console, a web console is a web-based application that allows to execute shell commands. Shell commands that we are basically using right now.
Okay.
So the most important part, when you simply you can see on the server directly from the browser, the application is very light, does not require any database, and can be installed by configuration in 3 minutes. Download the latest version of web console. You can see over here. So the most important part is a web console where you can execute any command. For example, you can see on the directory, ping a machine on the network. So ping a machine on a network. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to write any of the IP address. For example, let's write localhost IP address. So basically, let's submit this one. So we are getting 127.0.0.164 bytes from the localhost and the timestamp. So over here, what we're gonna in the back end, if I talk about the ping scan, we do ping google.com. Why? To check the network is live or not. But the actual thing that we can perform with the ping scan is to identify the host type with the help of detail value. So I can say right now Google is using
Linux.
So we can see the command is running in the server side. with a ping scan. So over here, most of the hackers, they simply check if you can run multiple commands. For example, ping a machine on the network, and sometimes a hacker simply use a semicolon. Why? To join some commands on a single state. So if I write, let's write, who am I? So through the who am I can see the command has been executed on the backend side also. So over here, local and who am I अपना mic बंद कर दो सभी.
Okay.
So this attack is basically known as OS command injection attack. OS command injection is also known as shell injection. It is a web security vulnerability that allows an attacker to execute arbitrary open operating system commands. यानी कि you can say commands which is running in the applications. So on the server that is running in an application and typically full compromise the application and solve data. You can write what is an OS system in the Python. OS module Python provides function of interacting with the operating system. OS comes with the standard utility. OS command injection is a part of your OWASP top 10, as we know about this one. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna try to, what hackers do, they try to manipulate to gain sensitive information. For example, as we can see, if I write who am I can see this is Apache over there. But let's try to write netstat, ANTUP. What are the applications are running in the backend of the server? So I can see that we can run some operating system commands over here. And I can see 88683306, which is your MySQL server, which is running in the server side. 111.611.25 is also running in the backend on the local host. So what is the main achievement of hackers? They simply when they find a loophole on the server side, they try to manipulate an OS command injection attack.
सर ANTAP मतलब जो आपने जो डाला -ANTUP उसका मतलब क्या है?
अच्छा ये बताओ, ये तो बेसिक कमांड्स हैं
सर नेटस्टैट मैंने डीप में नहीं पढ़ा है ना, तो एग्जैक्टली मेरे को आइडिया नहीं है उसका.
Netstat is basically used to identify what are the applications are running in the backend in the local server. For example, in my local server, I need to check what are the applications are running.
तो सर जो हमने डाली एंड वो हमारे बारे में बता रहा है ना, लाइक कि हमारे इस पे क्या सर्विसेज चल रही है.
ये उसके वाले में सर्विस दिखा रहा है, उसके क्या सर्विस चल रही है वो दिखा रहा है वो.
अच्छा, उसके इसमें क्या चल रही है. ओके.
ओएस कमांड इंजेक्शन क्या होता है? जहाँ पे हम आर्बिट्रेरी फाइल को एग्जीक्यूट कर सकते हैं. और हैकर्स क्या करते हैं, बेसिकली ओएस कमांड इंजेक्शन को लेके रिवर्स शेल देते हैं.
ओके.
See, reverse shell by OS command injection. You can see lots of blogs over there. But what I basically use, I use pentest monkey. Bash, Perl, Python. Let's check. Do we have Python over there? Do we have Netcat? We don't have Netcat. Let's try to find Python. Yes, we have Python on the binary file. Let's try with the Perl command. Yes, we have Perl on the server side. So through the OS command injection, attacker simply identify what are the applications are running on the service. On the main objective, how attackers simply gain unauthorized access. So for that case, we use Perl command to put a reverse shell. So for reverse shell, we're gonna do some modification on the receiver IP address plus the receiver port. So the receiver IP address would be my IP address, which is 110. So I'm going to replace the IP address over here with my IP address. And the port number that we're going to use is our internal port number. So I'm going to use 44448.
सर हम 4444 भी तो यूज कर सकते हैं ना, लाइक ऐसा कुछ specified नहीं
You
है
can use any of the port numbers if you want. You can use any of the port numbers. It doesn't matter. So we're going to copy this one. And I'm going to paste it over here on the rich Perl. So when the payload will execute, we will get a reverse shell. But for that, I'm going to use netcat for receiver. And the port 4448 for activating the listening mode to the netcat. So we're going to execute this one. I can see a shell on the server side. A connection to 1010 from the unknown 108.
Sir, can you repeat this again?
Sorry?
Can you repeat this process? Like, how you create this shell?
हाँ हम मैं भी ट्राई करके देखना चाहता हूँ एग्जैक्टली अभी.
So what is the reverse shell and bind shell, guys?
Reverse shell is like it is initiated from the target machine.
So over here I was using a Perl script.
सर पाइथन की स्क्रिप्ट यूज करनी चाहिए ना, क्योंकि पाइथन तो प्रेजेंट है ही उसमें.
जिस किसी से भी आपको रिवर्स शेल मिल जाए तो वो आप यूज कर सकते हो, कोई भी नहीं.
अच्छा, किसी भी से
ये सारे रिवर्स शेल ही है. अगर आप यहाँ पे देखो, मैंने पर्ल कमांड में इसमें क्या चेंज किया था, सिर्फ आईपी एड्रेस चेंज की थी अपनी और पोर्ट 4448. और मैंने यहाँ पे क्या किया था, सीधा मैंने बिन बैश किया था, एग्जीक्यूट बिन एसएच, जब ये एग्जीक्यूट होगा सर्वर साइड से. और मैंने यहाँ पे क्या कर दिया था, एक एक्टिवेटेड मोड लिसनर मोड एक्टिवेट कर दिया था. netcat NLVP 448.
What is the meaning of the flag NLVP?
Numeric listening verbose port.
Okay.
Numeric for IP, the number, L for listening mode, V for verbose, where we can see this one on the port we specify.
Okay.
So, who am I? We are Apache. So, see over here, we have shell. So, I'm going to use some cheat sheet over here again. So, as I mentioned, the two cheat sheets, that was one was buttermilk. Field explanation, and we're going to use the path also. So over here we can see that we are running the line to escalation, and what are the distribution type, what is the kernel version, and what can we learn from the environment variable.
सर मैं इसमें रन
Yes.
सर पर्ल कमांड जो सर आपने लिखी थी, मैंने आईपी एड्रेस की जगह अपना चेंज कर दिया और पोर्ट की जगह पे सर वही डाल दिया 4448, बट वो पूरा का पूरा कोड लिख के आ गया, वो लाइक रिवर्स शेल पे नहीं।
पहले ना उसको इसको देखो कैसे कर रहा हूँ मैं, उसके बाद ट्राई करना पूरा,
ठीक है सर।
क्योंकि वीडियो तो बना ही रहा हूँ, आप तो बाद में देख ही सकते हो ना।
ठीक है सर।
कोड को देखो कि आपने कोड को कैसे उसे हाईलाइट किया है। और जो कोड उठा रहे हो तो ध्यान से देखना कि क्या डाल रहे हो, वो इम्पोर्टेंट है। So,
अच्छा सर, पता लग गया है।
हाँ
मैंने
so,
एक्चुअली लूप बैक आईपी नहीं लगाया था पहले।
बहुत बढ़िया। So we can see if the commands are limited, we can break the chains. Commands are limited का मतलब क्या है? We are on the shell. We need a bash. Bash where we can execute our commands. So I'm gonna use this one, the Python command, because there was Python available on the server side, and we can see we have a bash run. Because in the server side, in the shell, we cannot execute any of the commands. We need bash to execute any command on the server side. So this was the first machine. So in this machine, there is one more thing. We need to identify the first attack, which is our kernel exploit attack. So this machine is based on kernel exploit. So I'm going to show you how we can exploit the kernel. So for the first thing, you need to read about this. The kernel exploits are a program that leverage the kernel vulnerabilities in order to execute arbitrary codes with available permissions. Successful kernel exploit typically gives an attacker super user access to a target system in the form of root commands and form. In many cases, like escalating to roots or Linux system as simple as downloading as a kernel exploit. So we can use some kernel exploitation commands. So over here, you can use whoami to tell the current user in the user. Uname-a gives us the kernel version which we know vulnerable to. So we're gonna use uname-a first of all. And over here I can see the kernel version is 2.6.9. Or you can try to look the Gotmilk site, and over here we can look for the what is the distribution type. For the distribution type, we can see cat etc lsv release, cat etc red hat release. So we have to go to the etc configuration files. So let's see where we are. pwd, we are on the root. So ls-all. So we can go to the cd etc directory to check the release version. And this was also a Red Hat Linux. So I'm gonna check this one. So cat Red Hat release. So I can see this is basically a CentOS release version 4.5. And the common exploit version that we can use, we're gonna look for the exploit which is available on the CentOS 4.5 on the exploit DB. CentOS 4.5. So we can see on the server side there is no exploit. So let's remove one. Oh, 4.5. See here. We can see that there's CentOS 7 and there is Linux 2.6 2.9 void box 4 CentOS Fedora. You can see over here. And the most important part, you have to check the Linux kernel version also. It should be matched 2.16.9, and this was also 2.6.9. So it will work. And the most important part is CentOS version 4.4 and 4.5. So we're gonna download this exploit. This is a public exploit first of all, and over here you can see that this exploit is written in C. So the main objective that we're gonna try, I'm gonna make a folder called exploit. We need to share this file on the local machine. And see this one. When you are simply downloading any of the exploit on the server side, read the content like this one. Discovered by the Tavis Ormedy and Julian Tinnis of the Google security team. Thank you to them. And they are using GCC compiler to compile their file. When this will compile, then we can simply get a server side. So first of all, we need to transfer this file. So I'm going to use ls. I can see the C command file, which is 9542.c. So over here, I'm going to use Python. We have to share this file. So I'm going to use a Python command to create a FTP server of the exploit server. So I'm going to use Python -m method simple HTTP server and hit enter. So it will make a FTP server on the exact exploit path, exploit folder. So it's in my local server, it's basically running on the server on the port 8000. See this one. Okay, my ID was 110. See. Anyone on the local server can access my file on the exact port number. So what are we going to do? We're going to have to fetch the file on the victim side. For that case, we have to go to the root directory, and over there we're going to use the temp directory to download the file. There is only one directory that you can download any of the files on the server side, is the temp directory. So it's cd temp. In the temp directory, you can see I have already installed some of my old exploits, but we're going to install a new one. So I'm going to remove all. So ls-all. So we need to fetch the file from the local server, which is running on my local machine, which is 108. So this will be our path, and the file name would be 9542.c. So let's see this one. So we're going to use a command called wget command to fetch the file from the server side, and the proper URL and the file name 9542.c as per the data over here, and hit enter. So you can see the file has been downloaded over there successfully, and ls-all, and I can see the file is over there, and this is a C file. So what we're going to do, this is the kernel exploit we know. So we're going to use GCC for compilation, for -o for output. So we're going to name this anything. For example, I'm going to name this exploit and the 9542.c file. So I'm going to compile this file for execution purpose. And hit enter. So over here, ls -all, and we can see the exploit code. So let's run the exploit to execute our. And over here, I can see this is a proper kernel exploit to get a hash over there. So which is, who am I? I'm root. So the main objective was to identify each and every services on the server side to make a proper report, and you have to make a proper report on the server. Either you want to record the session, or either you have to make a proper step-by-step record with the pictures.
सर एक चीज पूछनी है